It's time for MacBreak Weekly. Andy Ihnatko and Rene Ritchie are here, and hallelujah, the new MacBooks are here too. We'll talk about those, help Andy buy his new router, and a whole lot more. MacBreak Weekly is next.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for MacBreak Weekly is provided by CashFly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is MacBreak Weekly, episode 503, recorded Tuesday, April 19th, 2016, the Tete bump. MacBreak Weekly is brought to you by Trunk Club. Get clothes that fit and look amazing without ever stepping into a store again. Trunk Club will help you create the wardrobe you've always dreamed of with your own personal stylist. Go to trunkclub.com/MacBreak and join Trunk Club today for free. And by Texture, the mobile app that lets you access the world's most popular magazines anytime, anywhere, using your phone or tablet. For your free trial, visit texture.com/MacBreak. And by Wealthfront. Wealthfront is a low-cost automated investment service and the most sophisticated way to invest your money. Whether you've got millions or you're just starting out, visit wealthfront.com/MacBreak and sign up to get your free personalized investment portfolio. That's wealthfront.com/MacBreak. It's time for MacBreak Weekly, the show where we cover the latest Apple news. Rene Ritchie is here, but only for an hour and a half.
Sorry, Leo.
iMore.com. He's in Winnipeg, and he must run, but that's okay. It just gives us an excuse to really move through this show, and people probably will enjoy that. Wow, and only an hour and a half MacBreak Weekly. It's unheard of. Anyway, welcome. Good to have you. Also from the Chicago Sun-Times, Mr. Andy Ihnatko. Looking nice. Boy, your studio's looking better and better.
I keep working on it. Now I'm working on the networking after deciding that perhaps it's no good to have a 6-year-old Wi-Fi router because there are new standards,
There are.
that I should.
Is it 360 ready?
I'm not even sure the router I have is 5 gigahertz available. So it's like I've been testing and sending back routers after forgetting that. Oh, that's right. I should probably buy something that was made in at least Obama's second administration.
Actually, the newer routers do make a difference, but also routers, one wouldn't think, but what routers actually do wear out. They get less. I think after a year or two, they get less reliable.
It's tough. You don't look at the infrastructure because you only notice the plumbing in your house when something explodes and dumps water all over the floor. When it keeps on working, you don't think perhaps I should maintain this or perhaps there's a way I can improve this in the last 10 years since we had the last water heater put in.
So what'd you get?
I don't know. I'm looking at a couple of different pieces of hardware. It's going to have. I've actually one of the things I've decided to do though is to move the router away from like this big closet sort of space. That's the main drop for Verizon Fios, and actually move it to a more central location inside the house. Before that, I'd mapped out a system of repeaters that would give me coverage before I thought, okay, maybe it's not quite so important that I have Wi-Fi coverage in the laundry room. Perhaps we don't have to have that. Perhaps there's a better place for me to have Wi-Fi than that.
You don't probably have the need to do extensions and extenders and repeaters and all that stuff. One router probably get through the whole house, I would guess.
It could, yeah. If I'm clever with it, I believe I can get one coverage with one router. It's a simple house. It's not huge, but it's not tiny either. But it's like there are bricks in certain places. There are walls and dead bodies in certain crawl spaces that have
bodies are not the problem. If they're filled with lead, then that would be a problem.
Well, that hiker had a lot of like titanium parts. When I picked him up on the road, he was telling me about how he fell off the cliff one day and it broke his legs in 4 places. I mean, never again. I always make sure that I get people that are not going to interfere with my Wi-Fi.
People don't realize that Andy was inspiration for Stephen King's famous Misery.
Actually, I have a consultant credit on that movie. Yeah. A bad negotiation. I'm getting net points, which means I'm getting nothing.
That's a shame.
So that was 2 more accountants I had to kill. I mean, but
starting to pile up in there.
Rene has to go. So don't get me started on killing accountants, for heaven's sake.
Tax season.
Many people don't know, but Andy likes to dress up as a clown in children's parties, and that's another story for another day.
That's passe. That's passe. I mean, you see a clown.
This is getting really dark. I gotta stop.
Well, now that Alex isn't here, we can finally tell some
loose.
larger truths here.
Yeah.
Mr. Squealy McTalk to the cops is now not nowhere to be found, so finally we can back.
Drop a dime on all you characters.
I would say, and maybe Rene, you'd argue with this, don't get the Apple router, the Airport Extreme. I don't think that's the greatest router out there anymore.
No, I mean, if you really, really want a time capsule and you just want to plug it in and never ever think about it, or you want that for a relative, then the time capsule is still cool. But people are even getting, I forget what they're called, Ubiquity or something. They're getting those sort of higher.
Ubiquity's interesting.
Yeah,
we use Ubiquity here. It is not for the faint of heart because it's complicated.
Yeah.
But the Ubiquity is kind of a middle ground between enterprise routers, which are really better than consumer grade routers. It's kind of a prosumer router. They're not expensive. They're about $90 for the units. They're powered over Ethernet, PPoE, which is convenient if you happen to have Ethernet everywhere. And for a long time, you had to run a server. You had to have a computer running the Ubiquity software to use the Ubiquity, but now they've made a unit that will do that. They also have a firewall. Russell put these in. He's our IT guy, and he's kind of a pro. I've been thinking about using Ubiquity. I looked at other kind of there's attempts to make Ubiquity style routing consumer friendly. Eero is the best known to this.
Yes.
So I brought Eero home, $600 for 3 units. Very expensive.
Yeah. I was looking at that. I like the idea of a mesh network coverage, but
it never worked for me.
Well, also they're recommending. Don't they recommend you have 3 to cover an average house? So you're in for $600 when you can get a kick butt modern router for about $120, $130, and if you want one that's simply adequate for your needs, that's only about $70 or $80.
Yeah.
But we're in the sort of hellhole where people like us should not buy our own networking gear because we're always thinking about a situation which what if I do have to do a 4 terabyte download of an 8K video file and I have to do it in less than a day. Like, you will never ever have to do that. You're shaving nanoseconds off of performance here, and you're spending hundreds of dollars, and you're adding new cable drops through the walls of your house in order to make it happen.
But you get to Instagram the boxes, Andy. You get to Instagram the boxes and tell people you bought them.
I think there's much more than bandwidth, though. Really reliability, stability,
future-proofness,
especially QoS, and let's not forget security. A lot of routers are not ever updated. Here's what I bought after doing some research. You might look at this one. This is the AC3200 from ASUS. They make a new one that looks more like a red spider, which is nothing. What could be wrong with that? The nice thing is this is running ASUS's version of DDWRT. It also is you could put Tomato on it and other router software on it, so it's very open, which encourages me on security. And I found it to be very reliable, but it's got a lot of, it's fun to play with. There's like 80 pages of configurations available to it. So
it also looks like a Babylon 5 shadow ship, which is nice.
The reason it has 6 antennas. It does 2.4 and dual 5. This is why I really like it. Dual 5.2. So we have 3 bands as a tri-band router, and 2.4 nowadays is so congested. So many other devices use 2.4 in your house, and your neighbors use it, that when you can get to 5, and if you don't, 5 of course has more trouble with walls, but if you can use 5, it's great. And having 2 5, I think it's 5.2 and 5.4, 2 bands in the 5 gigahertz spectrum really is nice. Really is nice.
And particularly if your router is just a few years old, it might not have 802.11 AC. And every single device you bought in the last 2 years has 802.11 AC. And so just to get 5K and 802 and AC is probably a good enough reason. And also think of all the dust that's been sucked into that device over the 5 or 10 years.
It's get hot and
cheaper just to buy a new one.
Yeah, I really think it's Well, now this is not a cheap one, by the way. This is, I think, a couple $100.
$200.
Yeah.
I
think you got to spend that much. I think getting a $40 Linksys is not a good idea.
Am I the only one who thinks like how cheap all this stuff is based on what it used to be? Like,
well, that's true.
So expensive.
Yeah, that's true. But they've gotten so cheap. I mean, a lot of people just go, well, they go to Best Buy and they say, oh, look, there's a $40 Wi-Fi router. I think I'll take it home. Which is probably okay until you get to security issues, and Linksys never updates it.
With a really nice, hard-to-guess password like password for administration.
Yeah, make sure you turn on WAN administration, because you never know when you're on the road. You might want to log into your router and change settings.
I just leave all the ports open for that reason.
Absolutely. We're being facetious, kids. Don't try this at home.
Exactly.
Actually, I'm happier now with routers that don't let me do a lot, Leo, because I don't lose 3 days playing with all the different settings. I've gotten to the point in my life where I just buy it, and if there is a manual, I throw it away, and I plug it in and hope for the best.
There's something to be said about that. For that, absolutely, yeah.
But that's the devilment that all networking infests in your brain. It will almost all the features of almost all of your gadgets will work fine through it, but there will always be that one holdout. For me, it's my Plex server where I just can't get it to tunnel correctly. And I've been on every message board. I've been on every on every website. I've looked and looked and looked to see if maybe there's a way that I can replace my router with my FiOS router with a new one that's maybe a little better at automatic port forwarding. But I cannot get the damn thing to work, and I wind up feeling very stupid and alone and afraid at the end of it because I cannot make this thing work.
By the way, we should mention our friends at the Wirecutter, and I really do trust them. Recommend a very inexpensive router, $82, the TP-Link Archer C7. I haven't tried it, but they have nothing but good things to say about it. That's dual band, though, not tri-band. Yeah. Anyway, we look forward with interest to see what you decide, because I know you'll be smart and you'll do smart things with it. So.
Again, then maybe I shouldn't tell you that one of the ones that I was looking at was, well, if I really am going to put that on top of the bookcase that's sort of in the living room, maybe it should be that pretty white one with the white antennas and the little aluminum trim.
You'll knit a cozy for it, and it'll look fabulous.
Exactly.
I wish I could remember the name. There's another company doing a Ubiquiti-style mesh system, less than the Eero. By the way, I put we've had mixed results with the Eero. I put it in my house. And, you know, they say it's best if you have line of sight, which kind of eliminates the point of having the repeaters. But and it will not let you pair the repeater unless it can connect. So I put it midway between where my base station is and where I want it to be. Nope, won't connect. Closer, closer, closer. Finally, all three of them were in the same room, and I had excellent Wi-Fi in my office, but nowhere else in the house. And at that point, I said, I don't know if this is ready for prime time, especially at $600. Megan installed it in her house and it worked great. And others that Kevin Toffel's done it and had great results. So I'm not sure what happened. They sent me the first unit they sent me was paired to somebody else, so I couldn't use it because then they say, well, somebody else is already using this, so you have to have them release it. I thought, well, that must be some other journalist. So I sent it back, and they sent me another one, and that one I never get working. So I'm not sure if they're not good or not. But at $600, that's a big experiment.
Yeah, that's when you start to think about, well, what if we say that we can spend $600 to improve the networking inside the house? Is my money best spent on this one mesh network, or is the money best spent, I'm going to pull all the cables and upgrade them. I'm going to upgrade all the switches. I'm going to hire someone to do a map of the house. There are a lot of things you can do with $600 that would probably do better than just give you coverage in the laundry room.
Knock holes in the wall, frankly.
Like hire someone to just drill and do all the cable drops. I've done most of the cable drops myself, but there's some places where I've got cables snaking along the floor because I will hit a fire barrier or something, and I'll have to I should probably check the electrical codes to see if it's okay for me to drop down through this, and then I'll say, what's the harm of having one cable snaking through a little part of the decor? Yeah. But if you hire someone, then either he or she knows what they're doing, or you have someone to blame and/or sue, which is really all you want.
Always nice to have. Yeah. This is the one I got, which is called Get Luma. It's not available yet. It's a pre-order. Very similar to the Ubiquiti and Eero. Same concept, mesh routers, but considerably less expensive. Let me just see what it costs for the three units. Of course,
and then Cozy looks fantastic on it.
And one of the things that both Eero and Luma are doing is iPhone or Android phone configuration. Which is
really cool. That's something I'll definitely miss from the Apple hardware, because you just run this beautiful little app that simply tells you in plain English or even no words whatsoever, here is the state of your network. Right. Here you've got 3 wireless routers. This one is not connected to the internet for some reason, but the other 2, your lights are green. You can connect.
Yeah, this is half as much as the Eero, $299 for 3, or you could buy 1 unit. The nice thing you will like about the ASUS routers, there is an ASUS app that gives you full configuration capability from the app.
Yeah,
So-
I bought other Asus gear before. They're really, I like how they managed to mix high performance and not terribly expensive. They seem to put the engineering, they spend their engineering money where it faces the user most profoundly.
They did get hit with a consent decree for making routers that were a security issue just recently, but I think it was a couple-year-old routers, and I think actually they were chastened by that, and that's one of the reasons they're using routers you can put new firmware on. And they have their own version of DDWRT, Asus WRT, which I have a feeling is just, kind of rebranded DDWRT, but you could put your own DDWRT on it. Here's some reviews. Somebody's saying, we're really getting into the routers, but you know what? This is something everybody has to deal with. I don't think it's a bad thing to cover, frankly. And I think Apple people will often just say, well, I'm going to get the Apple gear, and it may not be the best gear out there.
Yeah, I kind of recommend against it unless you have very, very simple needs, because it's really expensive for what it is. It's very, very slow compared to what you can get for half the amount of money. Its biggest advantage isn't even time machine backups. I think it is how dead simple it is to just plug this thing in, fire up an app, and boom, you've got it running. Not just running, but you've got really cool features running without having to diddle around with all kinds of web views and settings. But otherwise, yeah, it's relevant that we're talking about this because Apple seems to have shown every sign of having given up on being competitive in home networking gear.
Yeah, they're really about simple rather than. On the other hand, to their credit,
they seem to have forgotten they have this in the product.
I mean, if that home hub would ever ship, and then they could do all the fancy.
It was weird. Both Google and Apple dropped the ball on this kind of home automation thing. They're on Google's on-hub router. That's it. We all thought, oh, this is just, a wedge in the door, and then they're going to upgrade it with all these new features. There's all these antennas that aren't, turned on and stuff, and nothing. So I don't know. Neither Google
they lose
nor
focus. Apple. I mean, they lose focus quickly.
Yeah, it's so easy.
Apple was rumored to be making a hub that would do all your pre-stage, all your backups for you, and all your software updates, and
wouldn't that be great?
And work as a home. And then just it doesn't ship, and they're on to other stuff.
Well, we have lots to talk about. Because there's a new MacBook. Yay. We'll talk about that. And I need your advice. Whether I should
your book.
Run to the store. It was a 4:04 this morning. So Apple saved me. Normally Apple will say the store is closed, but we'll be right back. They had the page. I wonder if it's still that way.
Don't you miss those? No, I managed to order, but don't you miss those days?
Yep.
So I went and I read all about it, and there's a buy button. I pressed it, and I got a 4:04. This page does not exist. What? Anyway,
and the watch, I was trying to buy the watch straps too, and that wasn't working either. There was just no button, and some of the graphics weren't showing up.
Oh, good. Now I can buy it. Anyway, I want to know, should I? And Rene and Andy will talk me off the ledge, I'm sure. We'll also talk about WWDC. We have a date. Lots more to talk about. But before we do that, you notice I'm wearing this lovely sweater. You may wonder, you're probably thinking, I know a lot of times people look at me and go, Leo, where did you get your fine clothing? You sure are a natty dresser. Perhaps you've noticed I've upgraded my look lately. Look at this. I got another trunk. What time to talk about Trunk Club. Trunk Club is such a cool thing for nerds because, frankly, we don't like or we don't care and we're not interested in shopping unless it's shopping for the latest hardware. And
like dapperness in a box.
Yeah, we don't really care. So the idea that you could actually look a little sharp. It's my wife that makes me do this, of course. And if there is someone in your life who cares about how you look, then perhaps you already know what that's all about. This is a really great idea because it costs you nothing. That's what I love about Trunk Club. So what you do is you sign up for Trunk Club. I'll tell you how you do that in just a second. And then you get a personal stylist. And I love my personal stylist. She gets me. And so she'll talk to you about stuff like, and by the way, it's kind of like a therapist. I believe that there is a rule that she can't tell anybody about the conversation she's had with you. And so I told her I'm very fat, and she can't tell anybody. And you give her your measurements and stuff, and she says, "Okay, we can help you." And then she puts up a web page. I was thinking this, and you do like hot or not with your clothes, and then she sends you the trunk. All of this so far has not cost me a thing. She is she's a trained. She does this for a living, so she's really good. You can, by the way, go to the Trunk Club clubhouses if you live in Dallas, New York, Los Angeles, Chicago, or D.C., and you can actually go to your stylist. And they do, have yearly events where they measure and stuff. But this is what's nice about this is not a subscription service. I think a lot of people look at the trunk and go, oh, you're going to get that every month, right? Nope. There's no monthly fee. You only get a trunk when you ask for a trunk. And here's the best part. Besides being handpicked for you and your style, you pay nothing until you send the trunk back, and anything you keep, you get charged for. But that's it. So if you didn't like, if I open this up and I look at it, and I haven't opened it up yet, we're going to open it up for the first time. If I don't like anything, I put it all back in. Don't even have to fold it, and I'll pay nothing. I've paid nothing for the whole process. So you're getting premium clothes, expert advice, zero work, and you have your own personal stylist. So we see what my stylist has recommended for me. I'm not going to tell you her name because I don't want you stealing her. She's really good. Oh, there it goes. Okay. Ooh. Oh, you know what? Nice. Nice. So, by the way, these are always, beautifully wrapped, and so I'm going to be doing a bad thing, which is pulling them all out at once. But I asked for some slacks. There's the Vince. I like the twill. Isn't that nice? Yeah. That is really...
Cotton twill is...
Cotton twill. See, they know, because they know that geeks like us, Andy, we kind of prefer... We don't want the worsted... Although a nice dress pant would be good. Cotton twill. Oh, that's nice. Kind of a Docker style. Connecticut Originals. These are all big-name brands. Now, we said, I want some shorts, and so they included some shorts in there because spring is sprung. Oh, a bathing suit. Look at this. Now, I don't know if I'm a mint kind of guy, but I thought, why I should try mint. I should try the mint, right? Consider the mint anyway.
That looks like a good vacation combo, that shirt and those shorts.
Yeah. You see what I'm saying? And by the way, she got me in a plaid, which I really was kind of avoiding. This is interesting. Very retro, isn't it? So here's the idea. I look at all of this. I could try it on. I get 10 days to think about it, return what I don't want, keep what I want, and only then do you get billed. Only then. Looks like I got some shoes, too. Let's see what I got for the shoes. I'm kind of becoming a shoe hound. Ooh. Now, see, I like this. I would wear these. Hush puppies are back, baby. Look at those. Beautiful gray suede. This is my trunk. You can't have it, but you can have your trunk right now. If you go to Trunk Club, TRUNKCLUB.com/MacBreak, sign up, talk to your stylist. She or he will help you. You don't ever have to set foot in a store. You get your own stylist, and all of this is free, until you say, I want to keep that. And then you pay for what you keep, and you pay nothing more. Shipping is free, and the stylist is free. So there's no cost, no obligation to you, and I think I'm definitely keeping some of this stuff. Okay, be ready, because you may say, oh, I want that. Oh, I want that. But your style will be upgraded. I wear a lot of the things I got from Trunk Club. This sweater, I love this sweater. I would never have probably picked this sweater, but she said, no, you should try it. And I really like it. I think it's styling.
It's like when you can't choose what to watch on TV and then you just notice something's on and you'll watch it even though you wouldn't have taken it off the shelf. It's like gift of opportunity.
I want you to try it. Trunkclub.com. Men and women, by the way. Oh, this is something new. Thank you for pointing that out, Jason. I forgot to mention they do this for women now. And you know why? That was our idea. Lisa said, why don't you have this for women? She was mad. She said, you should have this for women. So now there's Trunk Club for men and women. Thank you, Jose. Which one should I take? What do you like? What do you think? You think I'm a mint guy? I think so. Really? Wow. Who knew? Trunkclub.com/MacBreak. It was time for a new trunk. Lisa said, you need a new trunk. By the way, they don't send you a trunk till you go, I want a new trunk. Yeah. It's not like you get one every month. She said, I think you need to get a new trunk.
I miss when my mom used to buy me sweaters for Christmas and my birthday, and it was never something I would have picked myself. But like a week later, it's like, damn, that's a good sweater. Oh, it's like goes right into the regular rotation. Sometimes you need an external force to reseed the random number generator that is your fashion sense.
I think we have a new slogan. For when your mom stops buying clothes for you, it's time for Trunk Club. They may not like that, but we geeks need it. So let's move on. New MacBooks are here. Woo! So I was very disappointed because still only one Type-C connector.
Yep.
HP's new 13.3 Spectre has 3 Type-C connectors, and it's
Phil Schiller was
thinner.
really clear on this. Like they were trying to make a computer with none, and then they realized they didn't have to power it, so they made it a dual purpose. Because if you're going to power it, you might as well put as many things in that port as possible.
Isn't that kind of dopey?
No. This is remember that they didn't replace anything in the MacBook line with this. They expanded the MacBook line with this. And if anything, I echo what Rene has been saying. Like over the past year, it's been really, really clear that this is exactly the Mac that they wanted to make. And on that basis, you would feel less. You would think less of Apple if they just didn't think it through, or if they didn't care what whether it would be useful to people or not. But you were really impressed when they decided that we know that we're going to get slammed for a whole bunch of things, but this is exactly the machine we want to make in 2015. It's pretty clear from this update that they feel as though this was exactly what they needed to. This was the platform that they could just put new chips in for at least another year, and that it seems to be becoming a trend for Apple that no matter what it is, they will introduce the whatever version of it, and then there will be no hardware update. There will be internal updates, bumps, and software updates, but whatever tooling they made for that first edition is what they're going to stick with for at least a year or two. So this is they're absolutely adamant that this isn't the computer for everybody, but this is absolutely the computer that we Apple want to make, and that's one of the hallmark advantages of being Apple. You can make exactly the hardware you want to make.
They will walk things back. Like the no button Nano got walked back when they realize they make a mistake. They'll change it. But they internally they love this. I mean, you see these a lot on campus. People really some people jokingly call them manager books because you can't code that well on them. So it's what managers use and not developers or designers. But for that niche of people and for the sort of forward-looking technologies, and that's why it's expensive too, because Apple is bringing, in their opinion, they're bringing future technologies to market faster, and they're doing it as best they can. But this stuff is what will propagate the line for the next 2 years.
Yeah. So there's, as far as I can tell, the outside is untouched, right? It's the same keyboard, the same single connector. Yep. It's pink. You can get pink now.
Rose gold.
Yeah. This, by the way, is a must-have. This is what you, and so in a way, I guess, by the way, I'm being a little disingenuous because the MacBook is actually my favorite Mac. It's the one, that and the 5K iMac are the ones I use all the time. But this is what I bought from Hyperdrive. It's like 60 or 70, I think $70. And it plugs into the Type-C connectors. One of the things you need to check for, it has another Type-C. Not all of them will allow, other companies' docks will not allow you necessarily to charge. So you want to make sure that it does charging. This does. So you plug the Type-C charger into this, you're charging, and now you have power for an SD card reader, a micro SD card reader, and 2 USB 3 ports. This kind of, I carry this with me. So that kind of, I guess, solves the problem.
If you really want the MacBook,
to be fair.
Yeah.
And to be fair, it does replace 2 or 3 different dongles you'd have to buy. So that's not that expensive, and you're going to have to carry something anyway. And also, the other thing to mention is that it's 2016, not 2015. When I took my loaner MacBook out 1 week after it shipped to give a talk at a conference, I literally had to bring an Apple TV, a portable Wi-Fi router, a HDMI to VGA adapter, so that's because the only way that I was sure that I could connect to the VGA presenter at the facility was to just do AirPlay to it and set up a private network so that could happen. But now you don't have to. You can just go and get whatever cable you need, so it's not as big a problem as it was last year.
And one way to look at it is that this is really the closest you can get to an iPad in MacBook's clothing. And the iPad has one little connector at the bottom, and there's no real breakout stuff. And people have learned to do fantastic things, and people are super productive and use it as their main computer. And this is sort of the same idea. Like, I don't have one of those hubs. I have a MacBook Pro because I do video work and stuff that wouldn't really work on a MacBook. But I bought that because that was the best Mac for me. And to Andy's point earlier, people lust after whatever is new. And the difference now is that Apple makes a lot of stuff, and not every one of those things are going to be for you. And some people get really upset because they want the new Mac, but it's
no, but I want no. I think this is unfair. I want that nice, thin and light. They could have very easily done what Google did with its Pixel and put a second USB-C on the other side, and that would have been perfect. A big improvement. No. I feel like that I don't have to drink the Kool-Aid and say, oh, everything Apple does is with a reason and perfect. It could use a second port. What's wrong with saying that?
There's nothing wrong with saying that, and you do have an excellent point. I think the only reason why it doesn't have a second USB-C port is because they simply didn't want to
touch the case. Yeah, they didn't want to. Johnny's busy on his sabbatical.
He's taking the campus.
Yeah, and it's not even an aesthetic thing. It's like this is the device that we have decided to make. We are committed to this idea. We think it's a solid, good idea.
Well, that's why I'm buying an HP, by the way. Thank you, Mac.
Well,
Thank you, Apple.
there's a lot of great movement here. Looking inside it, though, I cannot see anything when I look at it with its casings removed that this is an ARM-based computer. This is whatever
very
Intel
close.
logo.
But wait a
The
minute,
Intel-
aren't they putting the
it's
i7?
like there's a post-it.
You can
there's
get
like a
the
post-it note
i7
that
in this
says-
one, right? In fact, I should price it because I'm sure it's incredibly expensive.
Yeah. But I mean, but it's like
the one they're sending out, because Christina Warren and The Verge apparently have one. Anybody on your side have one? Rene, it is.
I ordered one.
So wait a minute, they seeded it to Christina Warren and The Verge?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Look, I don't expect them to send me one. They hate me, but I think at least you should send one to Andy and Rene. All right, so let me see. So they sent out the M5, which is the marginally faster. I think Christina posted a Geekbench. It looks like it's marginally faster. But I can go faster because I can. Oh, it's an M7.
Yeah.
It's not an i7.
Yeah.
Is that much faster?
Well, I mean, these are the Skylake versions of the Core M. Last time it was a Broadwell Core M, and it's the. I have a hard time with these because once in a while I bring my A9 iPad Pro around and I hear the Core M's crying because there's
it's faster.
To Andy's point, yeah. Well, there's also this influx where it's getting really interesting where a MacBook and an iPad Pro are not that far apart. One's more a Mac and one is more an iPad, but you could see architecture swapping that gap at a certain point.
Yeah. Should you? Okay, so. I kind of have an out here. I'm not going to buy one, but my wife, Lisa, and my business partner, our CEO, insists on having the fastest. She says, okay, what kind of computer do I want? You want the fastest. So should I get her the M7? Is that going to be appreciably faster? And is it going to hit battery life, or is it going to be roughly the same? They claim an hour.
Battery life is better.
They claim an hour improvement, even on the M7, right?
That's one of the things they get for free with a new CPU.
Right, that's good.
I would see. It's interesting. I've been looking at all the specs and the data. I can't take off my annoying tech columnist hat. I just feel as though next year's is going to be something amazing. I feel as though. Again, I can't get off of this. The idea that this was definitely if they didn't intend in 2016 to ship an ARM-based Mac, I feel as though they built this knowing that this design has a life of about 3 or 4 years in terms of us revving it. It's possible that we will release an ARM-based Mac within that time frame. So we're gonna design this as if we're putting a real, not just a Core M, but a real ARM-based intensely mobility iPad style CPU in there, and thinking about everything that you could do by having a mobility processor, not just putting in more power without losing any battery life, but also what happens when you suddenly can bake in all of the security features of an iOS device into a Mac by controlling everything from end to end. I mean, I'm kind of on the edge of my seat every time there's a WWDC expecting an ARM announcement. Not that, and this is not because I have any information about this, but it just seems like it's like shave and a haircut. Okay, this comes next. 2 bits.
You will be so angry, so angry with the lockdown ARM Mac. It'll be interesting to see the internet that day.
Yeah.
You think really they're going to do an ARM? That's interesting.
I mean, they've had it in prototype for years. It's one of Apple's a really smart company. They had Intel Macs in prototype for years. They have everything ready for when they make their decisions. Otherwise, it's too much time.
So which one are you going to get, Rene? Are you going to go for the M7? By the way, 8 gigs of RAM in all of them.
I ordered already. Yep.
Yeah, you could get either 256 or 512 gigs of storage.
I topped mine out. Rose gold, top of the line, Leo. You go big or you go
That's what
Campbell.
I got, Lisa, 1749.
Embrace the pink.
And
it's pink. It's a lovely shade of pink. You don't need to be ashamed you have a pink
Well,
computer.
it's been a problem because we both have gold MacBooks, and I had to actually put I had a leftover. The one thing I got good out of the Mac Pro was a black Mac Apple sticker, right? So so I'm put that on my MacBook so I could tell the difference between mine and hers. But now she'll have pink. So
well, yeah, Apple solved a real problem for you.
Anyway, so that says it will come it's available in 1 to 3 business days, and it will come the 27th through the 29th.
Yeah.
1749 for the top of the line. And that's what you did as well?
Yeah, although Canadian dollars hurt a lot more.
Oh, I bet. Now, somebody in the chat room said that the graphics on the M7 that can't be right, aren't as good as the graphics on the M5. No, it's got to be the same Intel Iris graphics on both, right?
I didn't have a chance to look at it too closely, but
yes, because I was too busy
compare.
buying it.
I was too busy being frustrated with that buy button not working.
404 on the buy button. You know, I thought this is Apple's way of telling me, no, you've spent too much already, Leo.
Wallet protection technology built in.
Oh, we know how much you've spent, Leo, and you can't have another device this year.
Lisa called us yesterday saying, my husband is going to make a silly purchase based on impulse and emotion.
Do you
just on A&E, the intervention?
The SSD is PCIe based, which is good. It's that's going to be fast, although I don't think that's any different from last year. The Intel graphics in the M7 are the 515, Intel HD graphics 515. You don't buy this for its graphics performance.
No. Like this is a computer that, like, you know it if you want this computer. And there's a lot of people who really want this computer. You want a Mac and you want the absolute lightest, most portable, smallest footprint Retina display Mac you can possibly get. And
no, I did get the undercoating and the Armor All and the leather seats. That's right or not?
Did you go for ludicrous speed or just insane speed? Yeah.
Hey, Rene, I wanted to ask you: did you buy it for to have it for testing purposes, or did you buy it as a personal production machine?
So I did not get the last generation. I had a review unit for the last generation, and I have this paranoid about Rev A boards in the back of my head still. So I said that I'd get one in the second generation so I could live on it for a long time. And I want to see. I like to experiment with these things because I think people will have real questions about its viability and in different workflows. And if I can test those and answer those, then I think it's something I should do.
So you didn't make the use case personally that this makes sense for you for your workflows, your personal workflows.
No, because I have two really different workflows. Like writer Rene would love this, but like there's also like iPad Pro, and I'm going, which one of these is better for me? And I want to put them. And I really don't know the answer to that. But then there's Rene who has to do remnant video and other sorts of work that I have an iMac to do that now, so I don't know if I need a MacBook Pro anymore. So I want to sort of answer these questions.
Yeah, I couldn't be less interested in the Mac. I have nothing but respect and love for the MacBook. I think it's a fantastic machine. Personally, Andy Ihnatko, the user, couldn't be less interested in it because any feature that I would want for the really slim light MacBook is served even better by having an iPad Pro. And I'm talking about the 13-inch version, not the mini, not the free with purchase. Yeah. I'm trying to find a word that is not overtly derogatory, but after you hear me say it 5 times over 6 weeks, you'll realize that, he doesn't really like the 9.7.
It's Biggie Pro and Baby Pro is what I've settled on. Biggie Pro and Baby Pro.
The real Pro and the other Pro.
I'm very happy with the Baby Pro, by the way. That's my.
It's a great
a lot of people
machine.
are. Yeah. It's such a sweet spot for people who just have problems with the idea of a 13-inch tablet like that. So.
It's funny because I was talking to somebody who also bought one, and he said, they're back ordered on the keyboards. I didn't realize. I was lucky that I ordered a keyboard right away.
Those are great keyboards. I love that keyboard more than I like the full size MacBook iPad Pro version.
Do you write on it? Because it is smaller.
I do.
I think I have. You know what? I love it. I love it, and I didn't expect to love it. And the reason I quickly figured out is because it's a smaller keyboard, so my hands are sort of instinctively. I'm going to go a little bit more slowly. I'm going to type a little bit more carefully, and I have an easier time typing on that. The problem with the full-sized iPad Pro keyboard is that it is the size of a laptop keyboard, and my brain says, laptop keyboard, go nuts. And it's not, it's flat, and the feel is kind of weird, and so my fingers keep getting into trouble, and so it's frustrating for me to use because I'm trying to type at full speed.
I never learned to type, so I'm sort of immune to any keyboard now. I just peck away at whatever's in front of me.
Some people would say I never learned to write.
Likewise.
But so okay, which do you prefer to write on, the MacBook or the new iPad keyboard?
I got MacBook.
Yeah,
MacBook's not great. You get used to it.
It's not great. I'm sorry to say that I've got the that's a real failure point for Apple, that they're not in any way interested in investing in really great keyboard technology. It's always, here are the limitations that we have decided to bake into this design. Do your best given these limitations, and that's the reason why I travel with my iPad Pro and a Logitech K811 keyboard. And I'm sorry to say that the K811 keyboard is better than the keyboard on my MacBook. which is kind of sickening. It's a more comfortable typing experience on the iPad Pro, therefore, than on my $2,000 MacBook that I bought just a few months ago.
Has anybody tried that new Bridge keyboard?
I'm not.
It's kind of a compromise, I guess. It's a Bluetooth wireless keyboard. I think it was a Kickstarter. I guess nobody has it yet, so we can't. Well, wait a minute. Bob in the chat room, Bob NLD says he uses the Bridge keyboard with his iPad, and that with his regular iPad. And he says it would be a good combo with the Pro. The site's down. All right, pull it up.
Yeah, I have to admit that I think that everybody has their own peculiar relationship, because it is the physical tactile interface between your brain.
Yeah,
and
well, especially for a writer, right?
Yeah. So I'm not going to pretend that that anybody who uses the full-sized iPad Pro keyboard cover is nuts or is willing to settle for less. For me, I just can't get my head around it. It's a barrier between me and my creativity. And the iPad Pro, otherwise, there are many ways that I just prefer the working environment of it. It's just brilliant. So many, when I'm trying to create something, it's so often just two really important app windows. And it just lets me get a laser focus on my Omni Outliner file and the Ulysses file that I'm using to take notes, to take those notes and to convert them into an idea. And yes, I can do the same thing on my MacBook, but there's just something about the clarity of the iPad Pro that just it really just gets me going and helps me to write. It's one of the best things, one of the best Apple devices I ever bought.
Yeah, I guess it's because I guess it's because is it touch that you love? Is it the fact that there's nothing else going on, so you're kind of constrained?
It's clarity. It's the fact that it forces a developer to. It's like writing a really good iOS app, even a really good iPad app, is a lot like writing a haiku. You are limited in structure, you're limited in size, and so therefore you have to express your thought and create something of beauty with as little energy and as much clarity as possible. And so that's why you can have apps that are practically as powerful as their desktop counterparts, like iMovie or like Procreate. But nonetheless, because there are rules that rules that Apple imposes, and also if you have any kind of a design sense, a wrong way to design that looks immediately wrong when you prototype it, there is, again, just sort of a clarity and a directness to the purpose of these apps that is hard to replicate on the Mac. I don't think I could get by if I only had my iPad as my sole computer. It's always about being able to run home to that MacBook Pro, or being able to throw a MacBook Pro in my bag if I don't feel as though I can predict what I'm going to encounter on this road trip or at this conference. But I find myself, even when I'm at home, occasionally I've got a whole bunch of apps that have one-to-one counterparts. Like you have the Microsoft Word for iOS, you have the Microsoft Word for Mac OS, and given that I can just connect to the same cloud version of the file, launch the same app, have the same keyboard commands, I find myself often just setting up my my iPad Pro here on the desk and just using that as my writing tool.
This looks like actually this Bridge might be an interesting keyboard, because it kind of makes it more look like a laptop, but without the big clunkiness of the Logitech Create, which really ended up being too clunky for me. $150. It's got hinges. It's like it almost feels like you're now have a laptop.
The typo was like that too.
Yeah.
It's really easy to separate the iPad from the keyboard. So my problem with keyboard cases in general is that when I'm reading a comic book, I don't want to have this thick wedge of something that is not related to reading a comic book between my hands. Right. I'm still enamored by how thin and how light the iPad Pro is, and it's kind of a shame when you put anything else on top of it like that. So but
you're okay with the Apple case because it's so thin.
It's so thin, it's brilliant, it stays out of your way. It's not
easily
that heavier.
Detach it if you just want to have the comic book experience.
Exactly.
It's not,
right.
Yeah. Although I often just flip it around back and just keep it on there.
More colors, more colors, more colors, more colors. Please, Apple, more colors. I've been holding off. I want to buy these.
Pink?
I want to. Well, no, more colors for the case. I want the
Oh,
rubber. I want the silicone back case for it. But it's like I know as soon as I buy it, you're going to have a color that is not like Soviet Romania in 1967 style. I want
Any
colors.
color you
I want
wish, as long as
blue,
gray.
yellow, yes.
Yes.
Pink. I will take pink. Just don't call it rose gold. Call it pink, and I will buy it.
You know, it's funny because Microsoft has just announced that they're going to, and they made a big Apple-y kind of video around it, offer the type keyboards for the Surface Pro in Alcantara. And it's which is basically a synthetic fiber that feels a little bit like suede. But in fact, I wouldn't be surprised if this was Alcantara, but because it feels kind of suede-y.
Their keyboard covers are brilliant.
Are they? You like
they've got keyboard covers that are about as good as the one on the MacBook Nothing. So it's not deep travel, but it's a true mechanical keyboard. It's a true big trackpad underneath it. And having used the Surface Pro 4 for a couple of months with it, I feel as though I really could. It really does. It really does cash that check that Microsoft's been making, saying that this is the Surface Pro 4. It's a tablet, but it's also as good as a laptop. And we're not saying given certain things you have to adjust to. No, it is Windows 10. Whatever you do on your regular laptop, you can use on this tablet. And part of it is just having this really brilliant keyboard cover that I could work for an entire afternoon on. Wouldn't be my favorite keyboard, just like the MacBook Nothing keyboard isn't my favorite keyboard, but I can certainly do a whole afternoon's work on it.
Tell me who made this ad.
We believe in making everyday objects beautiful.
The Surface is an example of best-in-class
kind of a giveaway.
engineering. Then as the device, we complement it with something that really kind of touches your heart, that touches you as a person.
They had the same costume as the
signature
1984
we
commercial.
Launching, it really started
Colors,
out as
people,
an exploration.
colors.
Who in the world of materials is really top of the line?
Alcantara is born and made in Italy. It's a high quality luxury textile. There's no other material like it in the market. It's never going to fade. It's only going to get better with age. If you look
have
at
to have
any
somebody with an
landscape,
accent
all
to do
colors
these ads.
subtly have this kind of
Snow on a tree, on a pine tree, a babbling brook.
And then Janir came to work in a grayish green hoodie. We made him go home and change to
It's
something
made
more.
from bones of dinosaur and old leaves compressed over 1,000,000 years.
It is tears of unicorn.
Material. At the same time, creates a very
I was always like just wondering if
smooth,
Porsche
velvety
Design would do a version of the Surface and just call it like Dust Surface, Titanium Dust Surface.
Oh, it's Alcantara.
signature type
No, we're
cover.
we're making fun of it, but if this were part of an Apple
It's an
keynote,
Apple ad.
word for word, there'd be people like, ooh,
Does Apple ever show the outdoors in their commercials, though? I think that was a giveaway.
They even have the chorus in the background going, ah.
You live with it.
I think that's why they're working on the spaceship campus. They don't feel as though the outdoors as envisioned by outsiders is up to Apple standards, so they can build an outdoors that will be worthy of Apple product
Apple
placement.
revolutionizes the
No
orchard.
outdoors. We make no outdoors. It's thinnest outdoors we've ever made.
The one thing worth
Would.
mentioning in all of this is we haven't seen the new MacBook Pros yet either, and we should see those this summer. So if you're on the if you're at all considering not like what MacBook to get, wait, and maybe one of the new MacBook Pros will be more to your liking.
So, and those will also, yeah. I mean, presumably they're going to do Skylake across the line, right?
I don't think Kaby Lake will be ready in time.
No. Wouldn't that be funny if they just skipped Skylake on the Pros?
People thought they were going to skip. I mean, people thought they were going to skip Broadwell, and they thought they were going to skip Sky. I mean, the Intel's roadmap is so full of potholes right now that it's interesting to see.
Yeah.
They make great stuff. It's great because you get so many things for free when you just pop out one CPU and pop in a new one. But yeah, I mean, you can't count on anything. I've been telling people that if they've been holding out based on I want the new CPUs, don't hold out past your next project deadline, because it might be next week, it might be the summer, it might be after the summer. You just don't know when you're talking about an Intel production.
And they'll ship it, but it won't have the Iris graphics that Apple wants.
Yeah.
So then they'll wait on that, and then.
The new MacBooks support USB 3.1, right? And the Type-C connector. Is it Thunderbolt 3 as well?
No.
Not.
It's not a connector. No.
Okay.
Same architecture, basically, just the new chipsets.
Okay. And the same physical hardware. It's pretty, except for pink, but it's the same keyboard, the same screen, the same Retina display, and all that.
If you were to look at it like a processor bump and a new color option, you wouldn't be wrong.
That's basically it. Yeah. And how about the Air? Is this? I mean, this is now. I understand crystal ball reading, but you think new Pros with the Skylake chips? How about new Airs with the Skylake chips? Or is really
the Air got bumped? The Airs got bumped. Well, they didn't get bumped, but they got set to 8 gigabyte standard.
Oh, yeah, that's right. They got new. Everybody's going to start at 8.
Yeah, and I mean they still can't make they with Apple's margins they cannot make a MacBook that hits that $900 price point, which is what they want their entry level MacBook to be. So the Air is safe until all those components come down in price.
I wonder why the 2015 MacBook doesn't have Thunderbolt 3. Doesn't Skylake support that directly in the chipset? I believe it does. Neo's saying so in their chat room.
Yeah, and they have that new. It's basically an identical interconnect, so it looks the same as the USB-C connector. It just adds Thunderbolt 3 to the mix. But whether the Core M version that Apple is using in here supports it or not, and whether they had to do other architectural things that they chose not to do, it's hard to say.
Yeah. Well, apparently they've seated some people with the new MacBook, so we're starting to see early reviews. The Verge, looks like Christina Warren. We tried to get Christina on, by the way, but she's not available at this moment. We are seeing Geekbench scores for what is called the MacBook 9,1. That is the internal name, the 2016 MacBook. This is the M5 score. Single core 2670. These are dual core now, right? Multi-core score 5252.
So it's a very small increase from last year.
That's a minor increase.
Yeah.
And they're not really taking advantage of things like Thunderbolt 3 that come with Skylake, although they are taking advantage of better battery life.
It's an efficiency. I mean, Intel's mobile roadmap hasn't been about massive performance increases for a long time. It's been about power efficiency.
Right.
And if you look at the iPad Pro, I mean, the iPad Pro, I think, is around 3,200, 5,500. And that'll give you an idea of what Apple's managing to push out in a similar class device.
Yeah.
So much of that work is just about heat management. We're not talking about speed. We're not even talking about power. So much of it is just about how can we create something that can support a modern mobile operating system or a modern desktop operating system, can fit in the small amount of space that is being given to us, but will not require a significant heat sink and will not require a fan. And that is the alchemy that's behind the scenes magic that so many people spend so much of their lives trying to solve at Intel.
Now, I don't want to run Windows 10 on my new HP laptop. So I'm probably going to run Linux on it. I wish I could run Mac OS. But there you have it. They're putting 3 Type-Cs on the back here.
That just sounds like one of those hippies that like buys a Jaguar and then puts it in the garage for 2 months, and when it comes out, it like burns used cooking oil for fuel. It's like the most gorgeous thing, but you've got to put. I think Linux
is ready. I think it's time. This is the year of desktop Linux. Laptop Linux, and I think that this Spectre, if I can get Linux running on it, who knows? By the way,
the law of averages simply dictates that one of these years, this will be the year of Linux. If you just keep insisting that this is the year of Linux.
Yeah.
In a different world, this would have run WebOS, Leo.
Oh, think about it. The possibilities are endless. Incidentally, not a Retina display. It's 13.3 inches, but only 1080p, which is going to give it, I think, better battery life than the MacBook. It's thinner than the MacBook, and I don't know if it's lighter. It's 2.45 pounds. I think that's heavier, isn't it?
It's the gold plating.
Yeah, it's copper. Sorry, bronze.
Bronze.
The
Bronze Age.
It's bronze. I vowed years ago never to buy another HP laptop. So there you go. Shows you how far I've fallen. They do come with. It does have an available silver bronze Bluetooth mouse.
Does it come in pink?
No, bronze.
Oh, see, I know.
Actually, they're doing something weird. I think there's a lottery because there's 2 specially designed ones by artists. And if you can get in the lottery, you could be one of the 500 or something to spend probably an ungodly sum. This is also a very Apple-y ad for their new HP laptop. It has the same kind of chorus and people with European voices. And
they spelled Spectre correctly.
Spectre with an R-E.
The Spectre notebook is the best notebook HP's ever made.
I swear to God.
It is.
This is a complete copy of the MacBook.
That we've ever made.
Best notebook we've ever made.
It is a marriage of engineering and design
Ports are on the
working
back.
together.
Oh my God! It's a clockwork computer.
It's a clockwork. It has a little bit
As
of
we
a
look at the Spectre
steampunk,
notebook,
and I
you'll
love
notice
three.
the
I'm going to do it just for the
golden
3
of a
USB
copper
ports.
color. We wanted the
Wow, it's
warmth
made of
to come
chocolate?
out. We wanted it to feel
Oh,
a
that
little
was
bit
maple syrup.
more
That's a
like
regional
a piece
bias.
of jewelry. It is more artisan.
needed a guy with
than
an English
manufactured.
accent.
It looks as if a craftsman made just one.
Oh, it's an Eames chair. It's the Eames chair of laptops.
Made it out of brands.
What a terrible responsibility they've dropped onto all these engineers. That have historically, we come in, we do our job, we get screwed over by management, we still manage to do what we can do. But now we have to be on a video saying that we've created this gorgeous work of art, as opposed to functionally solving some problems under the constraints we were given. Please, I'm going to need another grand if I'm going to show up at the studio and say, the chamfer angle bespeaks of the interface between the mind and the screen.
The bespoke keyboard.
Yes.
This uses USB-C, the next generation of
USB-C.
USB. Each of these is not only data in and data out.
I wonder how long it will be before we actually see USB on an iPad, though. I'm reorganizing the cabinet that I put all my cables and stuff in. This is the first time I actually had to create a brand new drawer just for USB-C cables and adapters and stuff like that. And now micro USB is just this drawer of hundreds of crap cables that I rarely use anymore, whether it's for my Android device or my iOS devices. It's going to be more important as we go.
Well, I'll tell you what. This is almost the same cost. In fact, I think it's exactly the same cost. So I'll get this, and then, but I just can't bring myself to run
fingerprints.
Windows
though.
10.
That's fingerprints on that thing. Is going to be way worse than on that.
In fact, they said we knew that, but we decided we were going to do it anyway.
Each one adapts to the identity of the user in a profound and subtle way.
We promise.
Hey, look at me! I'm a copywriter.
I don't.
Gia and A.
They don't give a lot of information on this, and it is not available for sale now. I don't know if it does. I don't know if it does Thunderbolt 3 or not. I'd be curious to see. By the way, LaCie is offering now a Thunderbolt 3 disk array.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what you're supposed to use it with, but
your dreams, Leo.
Yeah.
Your dreams.
Perhaps the new MacBook Pros when they come out.
This will be interesting.
Yeah, and it's also the. I'm sure it's also the M. Yeah, it's the 6th generation Core i processor. Well, wait a minute. Is that an M or is that's an I?
Core i processor. Yeah.
That's the full baby.
Full Monty.
Full Monty. All right. Thunderbolt data transfer speeds of 40 gigabits. That's 2, right? That's Thunderbolt 2, or is it 3?
I think 40 is 2.
Yeah.
It's because it's 2 lanes at 20.
Right. I'm gonna just try it, and if I can get Linux on it, then I won't be too unhappy.
I ordered mine immediately, Leo, and then I added the F band from Hermes just to talk to me.
I'm on F.
Even $2,000.
I'm on F, baby. All right, we're going to take a break, come back with more. Rene Ritchie, Andy Ihnatko. We're talking Macintosh and a little HP thrown in. Sorry about that. And let's see here. Our show today brought to you by people who love magazines. As you know what? Magazines are still... That's the one thing the web hasn't replaced exactly is magazines. There's something about all the beautiful images and the articles. Every month there's an article I just kind of long form article I just want to read in Rolling Stone or Vanity Fair, the New Yorker, of course. I was really pleased when we got an advertiser called Next Issue. They're now Texture. They've rebranded. And they do for magazines what Netflix did for movies. You can now binge read your magazines, one low monthly rate, and you get all of these magazines, all the ones I mentioned and many, many more. And they're on your iPad or your iPhone or any other tablet or a device. They have Android as well. And the best magazines, and you don't have to buy just an issue on the newsstand just for that one article. The images look better than they do in the magazine because on the Retina display, they're gorgeous. In fact, you get everything you get in the magazine, everything, every page of the current issue plus back issues, and then there's bonus stuff. Videos, for instance. Consumer Reports is on here. Condé Nast Traveler, which I love. I just like reading the, dreaming of places I might go. We're going to get you a free trial so you can see what it would be like. They have flat rate monthly pricing for a bunch of magazines, and it's really great. We just got, we flew to Vegas for the National Association of Broadcasters show. Many of our team are still down there. We came back, but I loved having all those magazines on my iPad. Not really nice on the iPad Pro, I gotta say. Really look good. So get the Texture app, sign up for the free trial. They make it easy. You don't have to actually have a magazine in mind because their editors pick particular topics, interviews, and stories that they can tell are something you'd be interested in from what you've read in the past. You could star your favorite magazines, which adds them to your personal library, downloads them, so you don't have to worry about getting on the plane with no connectivity. You'll have everything you want. I used to bring a stack of magazines onto the plane and leave them there. Don't have to do that anymore. They also don't have the coffee table clutter. Men's Health, Wired, Interview magazine, National Geographic. It's just really fun to go through the pictures, the beautiful photography in National Geographic. They've got many other photo magazines as well. I just kind of enjoy them, relax. I love it. Texture.com/MacBreak for a free trial and bonus content as well from videos and so forth. Texture.com/MacBreak. It's the app your iPad was made to run. Thunderbolt 3 is 40 gigabits per second. So maybe it is Thunderbolt 3 on the HP.
I thought it was twice 20 for 2.
I thought it was too, but I'm going with the chat room because these guys, they don't.
I have a terrible memory for that sort of stuff.
Me too.
Read the stuff.
Speeds and feeds are now so hard to keep track of. Let me just look.
It's fast.
It's fast.
There's now fast, faster, and fastest.
The USB-C that does it all. Thunderbolt 3. This is from Intel. This was last year, June 2nd. Yeah, 40 gigabits per second is Thunderbolt 3. So that is a Thunderbolt 3 port on the back of the HP.
Nice.
They make beautiful stuff. I've had HP gear in the office for a month at a time for a couple of years now, and over the past year, I've been super impressed with the hardware builds. It really is as nice and as satisfying as most PowerBooks.
Well,
MacBooks, God dang it! How many years has it been a MacBook and not PowerBook?
PowerBooks. Well, I'll tell you what, Andy, I will get one. Didn't you order one? You said you ordered one, Rene. No,
MacBook, absolutely.
MacBook. All right, so this is good. I know it's MacBreak Weekly, but I will order the HP. You order the MacBook. Actually, I already ordered the MacBook for Lisa, but but I'll order the HP. I have a budget. I can't really go crazy.
Jersey Shore and armed with just your respective notebook and just fight.
Naked and afraid.
We'll see whose thin edge is sharper and more devastating.
I can trap a wild boar with my HP. Apple hired, okay, this is great. I love the battle between Tesla and Apple back and forth. Remember that Elon Musk at Tesla said, oh, yeah, we don't care about the people who leave for Apple. That's our rejects. That's our trash pile. Man, former Tesla VP of Vehicle Engineering, I don't think he's a reject. Apple just hired him for their special project. Car? Yes, of course. His name, let me see, is here. He is also, I think, worked at, where did he work? Electric?
Oh, that's the website.
That's the website. Okay. Oh, Electric, discover this. Aston, he was at Aston Martin. He was their chief engineer, Chris Porritt. So that's a pretty good hire. And that's, now, Tim Cook said, look, we can be speculative. We have enough money to spend. 1,000 employees doesn't make it reality, just makes it something we're examining. Yeah, but 1,000 employees and one of them is Chris Porritt, that kind of makes it sound more serious, doesn't it?
I keep saying that it's the high-level people that they're getting.
Right.
They're not telling the public what their plans are, but they're certainly telling the senior executives what they're planning, and it's enough to get people to leave a really, really comfortable modern cruise ship with all the amenities and 18 restaurants and join this inflatable raft that has been unproven as to this point.
You can't. So, somebody like Porritt's not going to go there if it's just, well, we may or may not do it. I would think. Unless they say to him, look, it's up to you. If you can make this work, we'll do it.
there are a lot of people who at high levels, particularly engineering at companies, that they get bored after 5 or 6 years, even of tremendous success at a certain company, where the best pitch ever is, we're going to let you work on something really, really new and really, really important. And the compensation, of course, is going to be aggressive, but the best pitch they can make to a lot of these people is simply that, do you want to keep selling sugar water to kids, or do you want to come change the world? And for that reason, even a project that they might be working for 5 years on this, and nothing ever comes of it, and they're never allowed to even talk about where they spent the last 5 years of their life. That's going to be worth it for them.
Yeah, it's super interesting too, because even inside and outside Apple, the iPhone was the hot thing, and some people really want to make the first iPhone. Some people are happy making the 6th one, but there are people who making the 6th or 7th iPhone has almost no appeal. And if you keep your eye on the pulse of the Mac community, there's a lot of people going to Apple all of a sudden, and they're doing it because there's something super interesting to work on. And there's a lot of people who might otherwise leave Apple, maybe. Like Apple used to have a big retention problem, and we don't hear about that as much these days. So there might be super interesting things going on that are keeping these sorts of people, the people who want to make the first and the new, really, really interested.
Yeah.
Target date.
Aerospace had the same thing with Elon Musk. I mean, they got Elon Musk hired a lot of very talented people from established military and even commercial aerospace divisions. And the reason why he got them is they're saying, look, we're going to build we're starting from zero. You are not going to be battling 25 years worth of infrastructure. Your boss is not going to be someone whose vision of space flight was not established by his first space shuttle contract. We're building something brand new. That's how you get people loose, saying we're going to build we're going to take the vision of the space shuttle that's been frustrating you when you're working on that project for 15, 20 years, and we're actually going to make it happen. And they'll take a pay cut. They'll move someplace they don't want to move to. They will even work for a guy who might seem a little bit nuts and who might never actually ship anything, because at some point you have enough money, your 401k is fully funded. You know that the worst thing that can happen is that you will have 4 or 5 years of savings to draw on while you figure out how to make money for the remaining 13 years before you can retire. And that causes a lot of people to leave places of comfort and security for adventure. And you can't buy adventure. You can only give people opportunities for it.
A lot of credit, by the way, to Electric, which is the sister site to 9 to 5 Mac, because they did some great research on this. There was no press release. This is not exactly a public announcement. Porritt did the DB9, which many consider Aston Martin's finest vehicle, the 177 supercar, the V12 Zagato. He also apparently worked on the Model S and X and did a little on the Model 3 chassis. So now he left, according to Electric, Tesla in September 2015. That doesn't mean he was fired, knocked around for 3 months, and then got a job at Apple. Much more likely, Apple hired him, but due to requirements, contractual requirements, he couldn't join Apple for a few months. I think that's pretty typical. Like you have to wait 6 months before you can go to another competitor, something like that.
Yeah, no compete is pretty standard.
Yeah, they're not enforceable in the U.S., but in California,
also right to work state. Yeah,
California says no, you can't do that. However, I think a lot of people honor it.
And also they say like if you leave and you go too fast at the place else, you lose some of your options, or you don't have time to invest.
Yeah, maybe that was it. Yeah, who knows? But it's exactly 6 months, so that kind of is telling, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know what? I think that's exciting. You want to see more people making electric cars. Apple would certainly have a stamp to put on it, and I think that's important to understand that doing an electric car it's a very different kind of project than doing a car based on a gasoline or petrol, because it's a different kind of engineering project, and it's really a software project in many ways. So Apple's expertise is not as foreign as one might think, especially if you can bring in people like Porritt.
It's a computer with wheels for Apple.
Yeah.
I mean, they've made a computer that goes in your pocket, a computer that goes on your lap, a computer that goes on your wrist, and now they're making one with wheels that drives you around.
And many of the problems Apple has already solved are similar problems that Tesla has to solve, problems like batteries and how to make them. Tesla has an advantage there with the Gigafactory. They're putting a massive battery factory online. But that's really what you're buying, a computer and a lot of batteries, and the cost of these cars is like $35,000 worth of batteries.
Yeah.
And then, I think that Apple also has some expertise in supply chain, in manufacture that could be brought to bear. Tesla's kind of hurting in that area. They're having a hard time getting these cars cranked out. Of course, they own a car factory, which Apple does not.
Yeah, always remember that one of Apple's secret brilliances isn't just industrial design or putting a fast chip in a small device, but just simply managing that workflow, making sure that money goes into one end and functioning devices come out the other end without overruns or overstocks. And also realize that Apple can have if they decide to actually create a car, they can have a success on the level of Tesla's success by just selling a couple of dozen, tens of thousands of cars a year. If they don't have to create the Toyota Corolla. They don't have to have 100 million of these cars built over 10 years. They can have a very, very big, very, very public and satisfying success if they only sell 20,000 of these. So long as it's an iPhone-like success, where it's not simply not numeric, but simply everyone agrees that this is something that didn't really exist before or didn't exist in this form.
And at least Tesla or Musk at least pays lip service to the idea that, we want a lot of other companies to make these. I think he's a little more competitive than that, but he's been fairly clear that they're not going to, for instance, encumber the patents that they create. They're willing to share those as long as the company they share them with shares its patents.
He feels like a futurist. I mean, he wants to get people on Mars.
He wants to change the world.
And you need help to change the world. So I think there's part of him that's competitive because anyone in that position is competitive. But also there is part of him who feels like he's moving the world forward alone and he'd love a little bit of help.
Absolutely.
And also realize that a lot of that is going to require legislation. Like if he really wants to move forward on self-driving cars, without having to simply tell people, okay, wink, wink, make sure you have both your hands on the wheel, wink, wink. And make sure you touch the wheel, wink, wink, once every few seconds, wink, wink, or else this don't work. Things like infrastructure for cars that are not based on petrol, but definitely going to require charging up from time to time. Expertise in installing home refueling stations. This is the sort of thing where you can do it all by yourself if you're Andrew Carnegie and it's the 1800s and there are no rules and you can basically create whatever you want and steal and bend whatever laws you want. In the modern age, very few people can grease that many palms to actually inflict a change upon society and an infrastructure. The only thing I keep saying though is that I really wish that again, we don't know what Apple is aiming for, but I wish they were aiming for a bigger idea than just an electric car. But we'll see what they're actually trying to build.
I think if their time frame is 2020, that's not going to be an autonomous vehicle. But I think everybody
degrees of autonomy.
Yeah, degrees, exactly. And by 2020, I expect my Model X to be driving me around.
Well, a lot of these companies are shifting towards not something that they can actually get laws passed for, but also something that they can sell to consumers. Consumers are really resistant. Whether you're driving a car or you have to share a road with a self-driving car, they're very resistant to the idea of car pulls up into your driveway, you jump in, it takes you where you want to go. But we're talking about simply like merging from local traffic, local roads onto highways, and then once you're on the highway, the car is going to take over all the highway duties and keep you safe. All that stuff where it's just keep in the center lane or the right-hand lane for the next 45 minutes, and then basically the car says, okay, now in 5 minutes there's going to be an exit. I will get you off this road, but at that point you're going to have to take over for the local roads, because they feel as though they can get that working, because they can also very effectively make the case that this will make highways safer. This will bring the speed. Once we have, let's say, 12% of the cars that are autonomous and absolutely will not drive above the speed limit, that will force everybody to drive at the speed limit, because unless you want to be by Michael Knight and be zigzagging all around these cars that are going 65 miles an hour, it really is going to pay off for just about everybody. And it's also, as a technical thing, there are no bicycles on the highway. There are no people trying to cross the highway. There are occasionally people who are trying to transport a mattress on the highway by strapping it to the roof of their sedan, and it falls off. But these are things that it can do very well with. And every time that they post a video of a Tesla in autonomous mode, automatically shifting out of the lane to avoid a truck that didn't see it in their rearview mirror and did a lane change, that makes it much easier for them to make that sale.
Mm-hmm. WWDC, it's official. Siri announced it. This is really getting
Siri.
weird. Siri is starting to announce Apple events.
Trust the robotic voice.
But Apple has confirmed. When you ask Siri, and this started a few days ago, when is well, I could try it. Let's just see what she says. When is WWDC?
The Worldwide Developers Conference, WWDC.
Well, did I cut her off? It says will be held June 13th through June 17th in San Francisco. I can't wait. I don't know why she stopped talking. I must have pushed a button. Let me ask her
Ask
again.
it when Google I/O is.
When is Google I/O?
Here are some web results.
Searching Google for I/O.
She's just pretending she doesn't understand. That's all. Whatever you do mean, Leo. When is WWDC?
The Worldwide Developers Conference, WWDC, will be held June 13th through June 17th in San Francisco. I'm so excited.
Oh, wow. That was not robotic. That was like they brought the lady in to record. I'm so excited.
She's doing a live reading every time.
Really?
Does this give Apple latitude to, like a spokesperson later said that Siri was not qualified, was not authorized to make this announcement and has no knowledge of the event, and they can basically then put it whatever date they want.
Siri was at a party last night and had a little bit of fun.
We're sorry she was drunk.
Describing Siri as a disgruntled fired worker.
But I think Apple has now confirmed it, right? June 13th through 17th. In fact, they've also said something interesting, that the keynote will not be in Moscone West, although the rest of the event is in Moscone West. It's going to be in the much larger Bill Graham Auditorium where they had their last thing, right?
Yeah, and the last thing was there primarily because they had those giant living rooms for the new Apple TV.
Yeah.
So there weren't a ton of people there, but they needed a ton of space to show off things. The WWDC keynote is not usually a big hardware event, so they might just want the space to get all the developers and all the media and everybody else in.
Okay. We're excited.
Remember that it's the space is deeply constrained for people who want to attend as developers, but for media that goes wide open for that keynote.
Lottery system for tickets for developers? I imagine so, right?
Yep.
Very hard.
Always.
You know, these things sell out in seconds, so it's not fair. I guess I'm sure you guys will be going.
I hope. Never know.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'll think about it.
I'm booked, so I'm going to go regardless. Because I've got for many years I didn't get invited, and I go either way, and I just hang out because there's so many cool people there.
So you don't know yet if you'll be invited.
No.
I'm just looking at the days. That's Monday through Friday. It's a full week in June.
And last year Friday was a full day. It wasn't like previous years where it was sort of a half a day and then a beer bash. It was a full day last year.
Okay. Yeah. Well, there's a lot to talk about. So we'll do our usual coverage of the keynote. I guess that'll be Monday morning, June 13th.
From 10 to 12:30. It's already on the calendar.
Yeah.
Jason Cleanthus jumped on that. So if you're not in the keynote, Andy, please join me and we'll stream that live.
I do think
I
this
hope
is going to be
Apple will stream
unusual.
it live.
I do think this is going to be unusually interesting. There are a lot of architecture shoes that have not dropped yet. That if Apple wanted, that basically Apple is now able to really talk about. So I was mentally preparing a list a few days ago about what could Apple talk about at WWDC. I mean, that's what I start thinking about almost every April or May. And it's like, oh, they could talk about this, and oh, they could talk about a swing towards that. One of the things on the list was ARM-based Macs. Again, not based on ARM is not based on any knowledge that I might have, but it's like there are a lot of. Last year we could figure out that they got to do this and they got to talk about that, and they're definitely going to be releasing this. This year there's a lot that could be on the table. This could be a really, really great keynote.
Developer.apple.com/WWDC gives you a command line. It would be nice. I think if this were Google, they would actually have it type out, and it would be active, and you could type in other commands.
AppleSoft Basic.
It would be REPL.
It'd be right. There'd be a REPL in here, and you could actually ask it questions.
Who committed that to Git? Come on, we're not going to be talking about self-driving cars.
So
Did anybody figure out if that was a custom talk? Some people were saying that was a monospace version of San Francisco, but I didn't see any follow-up.
It's a nice font. I like the font.
Yeah.
It would be a very nice font in my terminal.
Yes.
I want ANSI colors.
People use Terminal, spend a lot of energy talking about monospace fonts and which one to use, and is Inconsolata better than Droid Sans, or perhaps you would prefer, I use Source Code Pro Sans, although lately Anonymous Pro is really looking good, and it's so silly.
It's like whiskeys. It's like you.
It is.
For most people, you get your first impression and you either like it or you don't like it. For other people, they will say, well, the thing is, Coruscant is it's more of an earthy sort of peaty sort of serif.
I I wonder if I view source, if I can see what the
Caramelly, a little bit.
It says Myriad Set Pro V2. Myriad is an Adobe font. Surely they're not using Myriad.
I think they left that Descender in the barrels a little bit too long.
Wow, they're using Myriad.
We also had, to go along with this, they announced a whole bunch of new resources for developers. So they have a bunch of case studies called Developer Insight. They have a bunch of best practices for how to get featured on the App Store. A bunch of companies, large companies like Evernote and smaller companies have written up, sort of how they've done regionalization and how they've done freemium models. So and there's videos as well. So there's a ton of new developer information to go along with all this, which is really cool.
This is, by the way, beautiful code, Apple. It's clearly hand-coded in BB Edit. Very lovely. Very lovely.
And they will be streaming live.
And they will be. Yep. We know already. Yep. Nice. There you go.
I think it's about time for Apple to have an official or unofficial surprise party for the people behind BB Edit. Well, they'll make sure they get their tickets to WWDC, and either as a meeting or as a start off for some sort of panel that only they know is not an actual tech talk. It'll just be a big cake for everybody to show their love for BB Edit. The Xcode is
shaped cake for Rich Siegel.
One reason they might be using the Bill Graham is because it is a concert venue, and on Thursday the Bash will be there, and they're really promoting that it will have it says here phenomenal music at this outstanding concert venue. So
they got their music mojo back.
The traditional developer Bash will be a concert.
But it's not Tete. It's not Tete, Leo, in the picture.
I don't know who that is.
Taylor Swift.
Oh, Tete.
Yeah.
No, I don't think developers are really Taylor Swift fans.
She's still recovering from her spill off of that treadmill. That poor woman.
She can mic drop now. She's back in full effect.
She has a new ad.
Really?
Yeah.
All right, let's see it. The new Tete ad. They're really, that's interesting how they're sticking with this command line stuff.
Jason Snell did his presentation at Yosemite as he fired up an Apple IIe emulator and did it all in as an AppleSoft basic app. And I got so jealous, and I made plans to do one of my presentations that way and not give him the slightest bit of credit.
She, by the way, here's the new ad. Just she's an emo queen, according to some. Let me start over so we can hear all the dialogue, because I don't want to miss a word of Taylor's.
Just a second.
Okay, activities. Getting ready to go out. Oh my God, I love this song.
Showing her
iPhone. This in middle school.
2 years ago. She's singing into her hairbrush. You gotta admire her for doing this. Obviously, Apple and Taylor have made up.
Yeah,
she's
also that she's singing goofy. She's dancing goofy.
Well, she's always been that way.
She's owning it.
No, I love that her brand is. I'm
a normal person.
I'm a singer. I'm a composer. I'm not a dancer.
Right.
So I will just simply flail around, expressing my joy and reaction to the music.
Doesn't mind being silly.
Man, this band is very, very happy right now.
Right.
Because Jimmy Eat World the sales had really been going down over the last couple of years.
Now the Tete bump.
I'm not kidding. Of course, that's going to be a viral hit again, right? Mm-hmm. Don't you think? I mean, that carries a lot of weight. Jimmy Eat World, the middle, if you want to go order it. Actually, wait a minute. In just 2 hours, 2 million views on Facebook, 28,000 likes on Twitter, 725,000 likes on Instagram, and I can guarantee you Jimmy Eat World is back on the charts, baby.
What a world we live in.
Man. Oh, man. She has 74 million followers.
Jimmy doesn't have to take that job in marketing after all.
Jimmy, the world is yours to eat once again. If you're a Windows user, please uninstall QuickTime now. And unfortunately, I know many people use, for instance, Adobe Premiere, which requires QuickTime for encoding in certain formats. But Apple has announced, now it's official, It was the Wall Street Journal that broke it, but Apple has confirmed it isn't going to support or update QuickTime 7 for Windows any longer, and there are known exploits.
They'll probably have as much luck with that news release as Microsoft had for the 5 years it told people to please stop using Windows XP.
Really? Well,
It's
a lot of people
dangerous.
can't stop using it. We first heard this not from Apple, but from the Computer Emergency Response Team at the Department of Homeland Security. they said, by the way, stop using QuickTime on Windows. It's dangerous. Finally, Apple had confirmed it. So
That engineer has been reassigned.
So here's Apple's excellent page on how to uninstall QuickTime on Windows. If you no longer need it, the problem is some programs do need
It's
it.
QuickTime 7, which hasn't existed on the Mac for years.
Right.
So.
It is legacy. I mean, you do have to kill it eventually. It's just sad that it has security flaws, known security flaws. The problem is that any plugin that gets launched when you're browsing there's a higher standard for it. Adobe Reader or Flash. There's a higher standard for it because many browsers are configured just, when you get to some QuickTime content, just launch QuickTime. And that means a bad guy can embed, dangerous content in an ad on a legitimate site or whatever, and it will just get activated without your involvement. And so that's really important. Browser plugins, I think there's a higher standard for browser plugins, and I think Apple needs to do a little bit more to, I don't know how they solve this. I understand why you don't want to support QuickTime 7 anymore.
Yeah.
Will Mac OS 10 be renamed Mac OS?
Sounds like
I think so.
So they put this in source code, or no, it was on a web page.
I think it was a couple. They did it twice by accident. Wink, wink.
Yeah.
I don't know.
This is the kind of thing you announce at WWDC. It kind of makes sense.
Yeah, they used to make a big point about how Mac OS 10 was we have this wonderful OS called OS 10, and we have a version of it running on the iPhone. We have a version of it running on the Mac, and it's a very flexible sort of thing. And now there's really no need to make hay from that anymore. And also, they seem to be on a nomenclature trend, trying to remove any numbers, trying to scrape off the dates and the file numbers like it's a stolen stereo or something like that, so that it can just be Mac OS. It's not Mac OS. It's not Mac OS 10. No one's going to ask about Mac OS 11 or Mac OS 12. It is simply Mac OS.
I wonder though, because they still have it'll be iOS 10 this year, tvOS 10, watchOS 3. Will they say Mac OS 10? Will they say Mac OS 11? Because that comes after 10. It's actually 10.12 coming out. So would they say Mac OS?
They just
12?
call it Mac OS. They call it watchOS. They call it tvOS.
Well, they do that, but then you get the problem with the computers. It's like they just call it MacBook, but really it's MacBook late 2012, and then it's MacBook early 2013.
Well, remember the trouble they got in when they remember how surprising it was when they announced that the next iPad is simply going to be called the new iPad, and it really does kind of. Yeah, well, it also takes some of the curse off of, well, I have an iPad. What's the latest iPads? The iPad 3. Oh wow, the iPad 3 has been around for a year or two. Why is there an iPad 4? Whereas if you just simply have the iPad, if you just simply call this new MacBook, this is the late 2015 MacBook, it doesn't put them on notice to make sure that they're always releasing on an artificial schedule. I would love to see them freed from the constraint of having to produce a new phone every fall, every single year.
Then you see MacBook late 2013, and you wonder Mac Pro late 2013, and you just wonder what's going on.
Well, we need to remember we needed that because there was a time when we could actually buy hard drives and RAM, and we need to know what we had. Now it's like they dip it in concrete when they sell it to you. So okay, so does it still work with electrons?
My mom had the new iPad, and she was looking for cases for it. And she would type in cases new iPad, and it was not useful results that were coming back to her. But when she typed in iPad 2 cases, that was fine.
That's a really good point. I mean, iPad is iPad doesn't work for search, does it?
No.
Yeah. Or if anything, it means that we no longer have to argue about whether it's Mac OS X or Mac OS 10. Yeah. It's another GIF versus GIF argument.
They'll keep the code names El Capitan. That's enough to distinguish it, I think.
Yeah.
Would they? I mean, that's interesting because they don't use. Originally, the cat names were code names, and the marketing department liked them so much they turned them into public names, and then they went and had to make new code names. So they used wine names for a while. Now they use Apple names. On iOS, they use the names of ski resorts. On the watch, they use the name of beaches, and they don't make those public. So would they go to having landmark names for this? Would they drop those entirely and just have Mac OS? It's kind of I find this so fascinating because you make this change, you can use it as an excuse to redo everything.
DisplayMate has reviewed the screen in the new iPad Pro 9.7 inch. Again, the iPad that has no name, the baby iPad Pro Junior, and it has said its color accuracy is truly impressive. It also, interestingly, supports not one, but two color gamuts, including a new one, DCI P3, which is used by the new UHD 4K TVs.
It had to have that incredibly high standard in order for True Tone to function, because if they couldn't tell what the color calibration was, they couldn't adjust it properly.
That's really impressive. This peak brightness is 20% greater than the iPad Air 2. A very impressive screen. True Tone, they review a little bit about True Tone. They say most users might not want such drastic color change with ambient light anyway. Doesn't come close to matching the color of reflected light from white paper. However, they recommend that True Tone should have a slider that would allow you to change the magnitude. Night shift, they talk a little bit about night shift.
I want True Tone. I want partially True Tone. I want Lie Tone. I mean,
I know. That's fine. You can turn off True Tone if it bugs you, and similarly with Night Shift. Viewing angle performance, because it's an IPS LCD display, they say we didn't expect much change with viewing angle, no color shifts, and in fact, the lab did measure excellent viewing angle performance with no visibly noticeable color shifts. So it sounds like a very nice display. They call it an excellent top-tier display on the iPad Pro 9.7. Outstanding, impressive.
It really is. It really is noticeable.
Impressive.
Yeah.
I've had both in the office for a couple of weeks, and the iPad, the 13 inches, no slouch whatsoever. But when you put it side by side, you know which one you'd kind of rather be working with.
I got my favorite.
I started off the show by complaining about how Apple doesn't seem to really invest in great keyboards, but all of that attention that they might have put into creating either a great keyboard or an even halfway decent mouse, they put into, well, you use your eye. Everybody uses their eyeballs, or most of our users use their eyeballs. Let's make the most obscenely great displays we can, even if people are not going to appreciate them right out of the box.
I really want it in the next iPhone so badly.
Well, right. And speaking of displays, it looks like Apple has reached an agreement with Samsung to supply OLED panels starting not this year, but next year. So that would be in the iPhone 8, not the iPhone 7 or the iPhone 7S.
That's super interesting because OLED screens, if people haven't used them, and which is likely if you've been using iPhones all this time, they have a real great pop to them that aren't necessarily natural colors, but they're really beautiful colors. And I'm wondering if part of the reason why they have this new technology in the 9.7-inch iPad Pro is this is something that's going to be reflected in a new display driver, so that you can drive an OLED screen and not make it look like quite so flag designed by a 7-year-old kid during art class, colorific, while still being intense. You get incredible whites, you get incredible blacks, and anything in between. It's just you need a little bit of finesse to make it look totally natural.
Yeah, the Apple Watch is LG OLED, so people who are from Apple Watch are at least basically familiar with it.
Yeah, I'm a big fan, and it's true. Once you see the OLED black, you never go back. It really is rich.
It's just 3D Touch that has to be refactored because that's still LED dependent, but I'm sure Apple's got that covered already.
I have to explain to people when they want to see the photos I've taken on I'll have like a Samsung S7 like in my pocket, and they're, oh my God, those are the best pictures ever. Why aren't Apple photos as good as this? I think they are. You're just seeing this super intense screen. Let me put this on my iPad, and you'll see that it's good, excellent, but not that bitter.
Yeah, no, I'm kind of hooked on it, and it's hard to let it go. So I look
crush the
forward to
blacks.
Yeah,
hit the sat.
Yeah, I mean,
realize that a lot of people share their photos by simply holding up their phones to other people. So that can be a real serious win.
Right. Let's see.
You're so right to have that as your background picture. That is an awesome picture.
Isn't that awesome? That's Bill Atkinson and his license plates. And by now, I'm sure you've all listened to our triangulation with Bill. He's coming back, by the way. We're going to do a tutorial on his app photo card. But he brought, which was so sweet of him, he brought a lot of show and tell, including his license plates over the years. So when he was working on the original Macintosh, it said Fat Bits, which of course is his. You remember, if you ever used Mac Paint, which Bill wrote, you remember the magnifying glass, the Fat Bits magnifying glass. Then Graph Man, because of course he was the graphics guy at Apple. He did the quick draw primitives at Apple. Then HyperCard. That's a great. I mean, talk about a great license plate. And finally, GN Magic, which was his General Magic license plate. When he said General Magic. So that was, gosh, I was really.
So much history, right? That picture, Leo.
He is such a sweet guy. He has been so kind, and you know. He said, I really need to have some video to explain how to use this app. It's not getting out to the world, and I want more people to use it. He said, I miss having the Apple marketing engine. You know, I'm not a marketer. I'm a programmer. I'm an engineer. And I said, well, we're not marketers either. We're terrible at it. But at least I can help you make a video that will, show people how to do it. So we're going to do that on the 25th. He's going to come by. It's a Monday. It would be our normal triangulation slot. Actually, that's next Monday, isn't it? And he'll be coming by, and we'll be airing a different triangulation we'd already recorded. But I guess we'll stream it live.
We're airing part 2 of
so
his.
We'll air part 2 of our interview with Bill Atkinson, and meanwhile, behind the scenes, Bill and I will be doing a photo card tutorial, which we will air then as a special, I guess. And we're going to do it without commercials, so he can use it on his site to help people understand how it works. I want to promote photo card. It's really cool.
I love it.
I know.
I'm so sorry that I didn't get into it until I listened to that triangulation. I sent myself like 4 different postcards, and not only did I really enjoy the pictures, I enjoyed getting photo postcards from somebody, even if that person was myself. And so now I'm really
Andy,
motivated.
I'm going to send you one.
I'm going to send you one too. It's like
I'll start sending you photo cards.
I'm going to be in DC like later this week. I'm already thinking, here are the people that I want to send photo cards from, like DC when I get places. Instagram is great, Facebook is great, but there's something about getting something. And he talked about it on the show. It's like something that you're holding in your hand. You can put it on the fridge, and it's like. And they're beautiful photos, and they're big, and they're laminated, and you can use them as coasters and put your beer on your friend's face, and it'll be great.
Well, I started sending photo cards to family and members, and my mom, I had a picture of my kids, her grandchildren. So I made a photo card. It's a beautiful picture, and so she can put that on her mantelpiece. And then, you can put little stickers of your name. You can show that. I don't think it matters.
So great.
You can hide her address. You can put stickers, signature. I put my signature in there, and I don't know why I sent her a cheese grater, but it kind of lends itself to kind of whimsy and fun, and so
spontaneous.
Yeah, there's this, and it's fun, and it's $1.50, including 50 cents postage. 49 cents postage to send it, so it's not very expensive.
And it's like buying you buy a block of like $30 worth of credits, and it's like having like stamps in your wallet, where it's like, well, I got a stamp, I may as well use them. And it's like I said, that app has given me so much pleasure, and hopefully it'll please and/or annoy people that I'm sending cards to.
I've started using it because it's cheaper than sending out publicity photos. Printing and sending publicity photos. People want an autograph. Now what I do is I don't print new photos. I could take some photos
from
great, and so they can be up to date. They're beautiful. They're actually much nicer than the ones we had printed, and I could put an autograph on it, and it's I'll hide the address again on this, but that's so if you send me a note, send me a nice note, I'll send you or send me a gift, even better. My shirt size is 17.5, 34.
Even better. Even better, just like ham radio operators will like send a card with a call sign. Anybody who sends you a photo card will get a photo card return.
Oh, I like that. This, nice. You know what? This should be my QSL. What am I thinking?
Yeah.
Oh, there's another market. Hams make these cards all the time. Mm-hmm. They're QSO cards they send out. And I've never printed one. Andy, brilliant. I now have a QSO card.
I live to serve.
Really, it's really. Anyway, I feel like I have been very fortunate to get to know Steve Wozniak, Andy Hertzfeld. I knew Captain Crunch, and now Bill Atkinson. I've talked to some of the people who changed my life and I think changed our world dramatically. And that really is a privilege. So.
Like, especially, I know Renee's about to turn into a pumpkin, but as a kid, it's like I idolized Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak and a couple other engineers. Woz particularly, I felt that the Disc 2 controller card and driver card inside the hardware, I just kept staring at it, how beautiful it was. And the fact that I know Woz is like, how did that happen?
I know.
The 10-year-old boy is like, is like I can't, whatever you did to get us to the point where like this person, I totally approve of all the life choices you made.
We had such a fun interview yesterday at NAB with Matthew Wood, who is the supervising sound editor at Skywalker Sound. And he's like you and me. He was a Star Wars fanatic as a kid, and he got to work on restoring the sound. He restored the sound for episodes 4, 5, and 6 when they had their theatrical re-release. And he said handling those original tapes that had never been opened again after making episode 4, they'd never been opened again, taking them out and holding them. There's the original Han Solo. There's the original Princess Leia voice. Same thing. It was the guy who said, I'm living a dream. I can't believe I get to do this. By the way, he was great. If you have not seen yesterday's Triangulation, and we're going to do more with him, he's even invited us. I hesitate to mention this because I'm sure that somebody at Lucas will say no, to go to the ranch and shoot a story about the ranch, which I don't think anybody's ever gotten to do.
I love his story about how he got the job.
Oh, he was a 17-year-old, lives in Petaluma, by the way. He's a local guy. I had to go to Vegas to interview him. He was living in Petaluma. He'd seen that there was a job opening for a quality control guy in Nicasio, this is like Nowheresville farm about by the coast here. And he said, that has to be Lucas, because who else is out there? So he applied. His dad had a fax machine, very rare, I guess. He sent in a fax, and they said, no one's ever sent us a faxed resume. You're hired. He was hired as a game tester for LucasArts Games, and has never left. 26 years later, he's still at the ranch. Who wouldn't be?
Feet first. That would be my policy.
Who wouldn't be? So, if you haven't heard that last Triangulation with Matthew Wood, please listen to that. We're going to wrap. I know, Rene, you got to go, and I want to get your picks. But before we do, we have to mention that Bill Campbell passed away of cancer at the age of 75. Longtime Apple board member. They called him Coach because in his very young days, he was a football coach at Columbia. But really, he was a coach for all of Silicon Valley. And a great many people in Silicon Valley report that their careers were inspired by, were driven by, certainly Steve Jobs, by Bill Campbell, who was, by all accounts, one of the nicest guys in Silicon Valley. And, of course, he occupies the front page today on apple.com. I did not know Bill. Either of you meet Bill ever?
No, just knew him as a name.
Yeah. Quite legendary.
Some people their genius gift is engineering. Some people, like Bill's, from everything I've read about him over the past 5 or 10 years, is his genius was in helping other people find the thing that's going to drive them for the rest of their lives, and just lighting a fire under it. That's such a rare gift. It's because it's such a blessing, because your gift allows other people to succeed in their dreams. It's not about I've invested in the right company, and so I'm going to be able to get a boat that docks in front of my smaller boat or whatever. So he was a blessing in so many lives. So.
Yeah. We owe a lot to him. But our show today brought to you by Wealthfront. You gotta save money. You gotta save it for your retirement, for your family's financial health, for college. You got to save. But doing it yourself is not a good idea. I did that, and I forgot to even pay attention to my investments for some time. Traditional advisors, if you hire one, charge way too much, from 1% to 3%. And by the way, of what they manage, every year, that means you have to make 3% more just to break even. And by the way, are they necessarily going to do a good job? I don't know. You can get started with Wealthfront for as little as $500. That's the minimum investment. But before you even do that, I want you to go to wealthfront.com and see what they've come up with here. See, they charge 1/4 of 1%, not 1, 2, 3%, 1/4 of 1%. And they could do it because it's a computer, and computers, you don't have to really pay them anything. But the computer has built in the brains of some of the best people in the world. Nobel Prize-winning academic research, the best investment practices, artificial intelligence. It's getting better all the time. And instead of just checking in on your account once a year as you might do or once a quarter as an advisor might do, it's watching it minute by minute, day by day. Now, it's not day trading. This is long-term investing. But there are reasons why you want to rebalance on a regular basis, pay attention to losses so you can do tax loss harvesting, things like that. You're going to really be impressed with what they're doing here, using the power of EFTs to really allow you to get into a variety of stocks in a variety of sectors in a diversified way, ways that it's just hard for you to do yourself. No wonder $2.6 billion in client assets now under management, and it's growing all the time. You got to check it out. And again, I don't want you to put a penny in until you read about it at wealthfront.com/MacBreak. But once you satisfy yourself that this is a good idea, and you can look at their past performance, it's just, it's been a tough time for the market. See how they're doing. I think you'll be impressed. And for Twit listeners, if you sign up to invest, Wealthfront will manage your first $15,000, not for 1/4%, but for free forever. That makes it even more valuable. That's like getting a 1/4% bump in your interest rate right out of the box. Wealthfront.com/MacBreak. Find out more. Put your investments on autopilot with somebody you really can trust. And by the way, they have a really clever way of figuring out how to invest your portfolio with just a few questions. In fact, you can find out about that because they'll actually generate a portfolio for you. Just go there and do the question and answer thing. It's just a few questions, and they'll generate a portfolio you can use for yourself if you want for free. They also do a portfolio review for you so you can see how diversified your current investments are and what you're losing to fees and so forth. By the way, Wealthfront can now, in their dashboard, they track, of course, all their Wealthfront trades, but they've now added, you can add your non-Wealthfront bank and brokerage accounts so you can see how all your assets are doing. That is awesome. Wealthfront.com/MacBreak. And Ihnatko, your pick of the week.
My pick of the week is an app that's the reason why I have about 500 bytes left on my internal SSD on my MacBook. It's called Downey, and it is the best video downloader app I have ever come across for Mac.
Downey, I never heard of it.
It's because it's an app that you see that there's I watch a lot of my entertainment on YouTube, and I love that people will post like BBC documentaries from 15 or 20 years ago. I was watching a Beyond the Fringe documentary that aired in like 1982, and someone has a VHS and they posted it. And this is not something you can buy commercially, and it's never going to be released commercially. And this thing would have been forgotten, and if it weren't for somebody putting it on YouTube. And so I feel no guilt about watching it on YouTube and actually downloading it, so I will have it in case it ever goes away again. Downey is all you got to do is if you're in almost any web page that has embedded video, and if you go into the preferences box for it, you can see that it lists like 1,000 different websites that have video, all the way from like ESPN, Facebook, Fox News, Fox Business, Get the Guy, Global News, GodTube, Google Docs, Google Video, just like on and on and on and on. All you got to do is just paste the URL, cut and paste the URL into this window, or even just grab a block of text that has it, and it will find the URL and will just simply start downloading the best quality of that video. And it will there's even a browser plugin, so you can just simply be on YouTube, just click the Downey button, and it will just simply add that to the download queue. And has all kinds. It understands why people download videos from YouTube. Sometimes I do it because I'm using it sort of as a DVR, and I'm going to be putting it on my Android phone so I can watch this when I'm on the train or something like that. But also sometimes it's oftentimes some people will have someone record like an hour-long radio interview with Diana Damrau, my favorite opera soprano, and uploaded it as a YouTube video with like photos as just to fill in the video track. I really just want the audio, and I was still testing out this app, and I was thinking, okay, I'm gonna have to paste this into QuickTime and then just like save it as an audio file. No, there is just right in the Downey menu under settings, you can just ask for post processing and say, please just extract the audio of this and save this as an MP3 file. So if you use streaming video sites as your DVR, and also, legitimately, if you're concerned that someone has posted something derogatory or slanderous to you, and for instance, and I feel as though they're going to take it down as soon as they feel the heat, you can actually, and you want to basically save a copy of it before this gets taken down. You can have a copy of that on your hard drive. You get to use it for a couple of weeks, maybe even a month before you got to pay for it. And when you got to pay for it, it's just $20. It's really, the only thing ugly about it is that they've got the name of the app Downey in the title bar in a really, really kind of weird font of the main action window, and it just looks Unixy. It looks, I don't like it. I wish they would just switch to something else. It's the only thing. It's the only thing that is not beautifully designed about this. Otherwise, it's so clean, so nicely done, and I was more than happy. You get kind of excited when you get to give someone $20 for something that you really, really enjoy. And I'm not kidding. I was downloading. I had a whole bunch of stuff in my queue that I wanted to watch for. I'm going to be on a train for like 6 hours to DC in a few days, and I had so many things in my queue that was just all take the entire queue, put it in there. Even an entire playlist, by the way. If there are 144 videos in somebody's opera playlist, and you're in the playlist viewer inside YouTube, and you just sort of copy paste whatever the URL is in the address bar, it will ask you, well, this is pointing to one video, but there are 144 videos in the playlist. Do you want me to download all 140 videos? I can do that for you. I'm like, alrighty then. I would like to have 7.5 days worth of opera clips. Great, please give it to me. So, like I said, it's really, really, really well done, and I'm very happy to give them $20 for it.
Nice. Alex isn't here, so this would be his recommendation: the LaCie 12 big Thunderbolt 3 array from 48 to 96 terabytes at Thunderbolt 3 speeds, perfect for your new HP Spectre laptop. And of course, you can't afford it, so I'm not even going to tell you the price. It's like 100 Alex's, but man, wouldn't you like that in your nice. I don't know, your basement?
I could use that storage now that I have this downloader tool.
But my recommendation is actually something even more dangerous, probably hotter. Tim Deegan has just released his book, Make Fire. Now, I love the Make series. We get these books all the time. Make Magazine, MakeZine.com publishes books on Arduino, Raspberry Pi. This is their first book on fire. I'm thinking their last. I don't know. But lots of projects. Of course, he focuses on safety. The subtitle is The Art and Science of Working with Propane. Arduino-controlled propane. But, of course, the one you're going to want to make, he calls the Boosh. I call it a fire cannon. And I think you'll call it delightfully dangerous. So if you've always wanted, now he says, if you've jumped ahead to read this chapter first, please know that the other chapters and projects provide essential skill and safety information. Do not make the Boosh as your first project. But if you work your way up to the Boosh, I want you to send me video, okay? Because this is insanity.
Leo, if you order this book on Amazon, is like one of the most people who buy this book also buy like an eyebrow pencil to pencil back in the features that you're going to singe off after your first 3 days.
As somebody who has blown off some of his hair in the past, I for one relish the opportunity to do an even better job of depilating my forehead. So yes, crazy, but if you want to make a fire cannon, have at it. New from Make Magazine, MakeZine.com, Tim Deegan, The Art and Science of Working with Propane. Make fire. Fire good. Fire dangerous. Fire fun. Look at that.
Don't do the things that you imagine the fire is telling you to do.
This is the Boosh in action, okay?
Oh, man.
Don't do this in anywhere inhabited. Writing a flame effect permit plan. Yeah, this is probably a good idea to No, Chief. I didn't get this off the internet. I got this off of a book I got off the internet. I think you'll agree that that comes with a pretty high payment. Everybody should have a Venturi burner in their backyard. I don't know how this book got past the censors or whoever it is at Make Magazine that pays attention to whether they're going to get their ass suit off. But wow, don't you love it?
I love that I live in a country where you can just pitch an idea like this, and the government will say, well, obviously the free market should decide whether or not this is a good idea for a book. God bless America.
Hey, thanks to Rene Ritchie, imore.com. Sorry he had to run. I tried to get in across the finish line in time, but I couldn't. I just couldn't do it. But he'll be back next week. Andy Ihnatko, of course, from the Chicago Sun-Times. Love having Andy here, and his many other podcasts are must-listens. Andy's an Almanac on 5x5, and Material, which is available on replay.fm, and, of course, regular on, get ready for it, The Drinking Game Has Not Been Satisfied Yet, Pod for Ham, the Hamilton podcast.
The Pulitzer Prize-winning Hamilton musical.
Okay, now will you take our word for it?
Our show didn't get the Pulitzer, but the show it's based on.
Yeah, congratulations to the folks at Hamilton who did win a Pulitzer yesterday for drama, and rightly so. Rightly so.
It's not oh God, what's the acronym?
He's not an
Oscar
EGOT.
Grammar.
He's not an
It's
EGOT.
Not EGOT. He's working on the PGOT.
He wants a PGOT, and he might get one. I can see him getting a PGOT.
The Tony Award nominations are and next week's like May 2nd, May 3rd, and it's just going to be keyboard macro Hamilton.
Yeah,
It's going to be I don't imagine that a lot of the other nominees in these categories are going to put a lot of money into their outfits. I don't think that they're.
Yeah, we already got a Grammy. The tough one, of course, is the Oscar.
No, I think what'll happen is that it'll be turned into a movie, and he's going to write a couple of new songs. Oftentimes they will write a new song just to have a category nomination, and if it's halfway good, then that's going to be because PGOT, man, PGOT.
I know an ego. That's what Steve Martin calls himself, an ego, because he doesn't have the Tony yet. but he might. He has a show on Broadway. He could do it. He could be an ego.
You know that. How do you, if you're Helen Mirren and you know that the only thing you don't have is an Emmy, let's say.
Well, how could you not make a TV show, right?
You tell your agent, I will say yes to any guest appearance so long as it's a really non-competitive category that I can just absolutely have that Tracy Morgan EGOT bling around my neck all day.
Emmy, Grammy, Oscar, Tony, and then if you're really hot, you get a Pulitzer and you call it a PGOT.
That would be Mr.
Is there a PGOT?
There is a PGOT. I don't know if Marvin Hamlish got it because Courseline got the Pulitzer. I think
it's the ultimate showbiz coup.
Sondheim I think has the PGOT because he got a Pulitzer for Sunday in the Park with George.
Yeah. Wow.
Imagine that being up there with Marvin Hamlish.
I'm looking. I guess. Oh, no, you could also say you have a PGOT if you get a Peabody Award.
That's nice, too, but
Pulitzer's right up there.
Yeah.
I want a double PGOT.
2 laps.
All right, Andy, always a pleasure. Thank you for being here.
Thanks so much. Highlighted my week.
Always a real fun show. And we thank, by the way, the chat room's telling me that Make Fire is listed in Amazon in the teen and young adult section. Nice. Thanks to everyone who joined us, and thanks to a great studio audience. We only decimated about half of them, which is pretty good. That's a good score for a 2-hour show. If you want to be in studio, we love having you. Just email tickets@twit.tv. We'll put a chair out for you. If you didn't do that and you're in the neighborhood, stop by. I can't guarantee you a seat. Some of the studios are a little limited in seating, but we'll do the best we can to accommodate you. You can also watch live every Tuesday, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 1800 UTC on twit.tv. You can get audio and video of the shows after the fact, always, all our shows. Twit.tv is the website. In this case, twit.tv/MBW. We're on YouTube. You can watch there if you want. And, of course, you can always subscribe. There are many Twit applications on every platform. 5, count them 5 on Apple TV alone. Find one you like, use it, download every week, or subscribe. That's the best way, and you won't miss another episode. Thanks for joining us. Now it's time to get back to work, because you know what? Say it with me. Break time is over. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Andy.